Hey guys, tonight we wake up somewhere strange, somewhere quiet, humming, and very, very bright. You open your eyes to silver skies and buildings shaped like melted crystal, stretching upward like frozen lightning. The air smells faintly of ozone and blooming jasmine, but there's no wind, just stillness. You're lying on something soft, but not quite fabric, more like memory foam had a fling with jellyfish. Your hands look like yours, kind of. Your breath fogs in front of you. And the weirdest part? No one around you seems to notice you're alive. You're in a city, floating in the sky, possibly in the clouds, possibly in a dream. Definitely not Kansas. Hovercrafts purr overhead. Roads ripple beneath glass tiles. People glide silently past, in glowing robes and seamless shoes, all of them with sleek wristbands and unreadable expressions. You sit up, someone looks straight through you. You try to speak, nothing comes out. You wave, nothing. You try a polite cough, still nothing that hits you. You're invisible, or you've been erased, or just maybe you've woken up in a place that's real, but not real for you. You look around for a clue, a street sign, a way to wake up from the dream. And that's when a floating sphere with a very soothing voice politely informs you, identity scan failed. No records found. You are unauthorized. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. Turn off the lights, grab a cozy blanket, and get ready. 'Cause our journey tonight is about to begin. You're now being followed, not in a scary way, more like you tripped an alarm and now someone's watching you through a dozen discreet, floating orbs kind of way. One of the orbs hovers close enough that you can see a dim reflection of your face. It's definitely your face, right? Or at least someone with your bone structure. Your memory is strangely foggy, like someone scrubbed your thoughts with a dish sponge dipped in chamomile tea. Your legs move without much thought. You walk past a garden full of glowing vines that retract when you glance at them. A street musician plays something that sounds suspiciously like Beyonce on artisan stringed harp. A food vendor nearby advertises 100% cruelty-free meat grown from extinct species. You turn a corner and find yourself at a balcony overlooking the clouds. Or maybe not clouds, some of them have straight lines, flickering edges, like the simulation budget ran out halfway through. It's pretty, also terrifying. You lean on the rail and try to breathe. Behind you, a voice clears his throat. You look confused. That's usually a good sign. You spin around. There stands a man in layered linen robes, a backpack with tiny wings and very expressive eyebrows. He's holding a paintbrush in one hand and a tablet in the other. Name's Leonardo, he says, offering you a half smile. Yes, that Leonardo. And no, you're not dreaming. Or maybe you are. Depends how long you've been dead. You blink. Leonardo da Vinci. You croak and immediately regret it. Your voice sounds cracked and rusted. Historians still argue whether I truly died, he says. Brushing past you like this is all very normal. Turns out, when you upload enough of a person's brainwaves, in art and private letters into the right machine, you get something close enough, closer than most clones. Anyway, you're about to ask more questions, but he gestures sharply. Walk with me. As you follow him through a hallway lined with moving frescoes, each one playing different scenes from your apparent past. Leonardo offers small talk that's surprisingly comforting. Did you know, he says with a faint smile, the ancient Romans used crushed mouse brains as toothpaste. Made your breath smell like philosophy. You raise an eyebrow. Okay, that one's almost true, he concedes. A panel in the wall opens as you walk by. It reads, identity match, not found, error code, forget me not. Leonardo pauses and sighs. You must have done something important. People don't vanish by accident anymore. You don't remember doing anything important. In fact, you don't remember doing anything. Your earliest memory is waking up 15 minutes ago on a surface that felt like octopus skin. The hallway ends at a set of double doors shaped like praying hands, Leonardo steps aside and waves them open. Sid is a circular room filled with books, real ones, paper, ink, the scent of dust and cedar. You inhale instinctively, and something in your chest tightens, like nostalgia sneaking up on you. "Welcome to the lexicon chamber," he says. "It's the only place they still allow physical books. Every copy here is a reprint, of course, except that one." He points to a thick, worn tome under glass. "That's an original Gutenberg, smuggled from a bunker in Zurich." You stare at it. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because this," he says, tapping his temple, "is where people used to store memory, and now we outsource it to clouds. 2 chips, 2 networks, but you're unlinked. No cloud, no chip, no past." He leans closer. "Either you erased yourself, or someone very powerful did it for you." You ask, "Why would anyone do that?" He gives you a tired look. "Historians still argue whether forgetting is the last true freedom. We're the worst kind of prison." Suddenly, you feel very tired. The air grows heavier. Books hum softly like they're alive. Your knees go weak, and Leonardo catches your elbow. "Sleep if you need to," he murmurs, "but be ready. They find out you're awake before we figure out who you were." He doesn't finish the sentence. Cass gives you a small wink and whispers, "You probably won't survive this." The lights dim. The books whisper, and you feel yourself slipping, but not a way deeper, okay? Into something older than memory. You dream of oil paint, thick, slow strokes dragged across a canvas as big as the sky. In the dream, your hands are not your own fingers long, confident, smeared with blue. There's music in the background, but it doesn't sound like anything. Modern, more like someone humming to themselves in a candlelit room. And then the dream tilts, the colors drain, and you wake up to Leonardo da Vinci frying synthetic eggs on a levitating skillet. He doesn't look up. "Welcome back," he says. "You passed out for 6 hours, or 1 hour. Time is a little flexible." Here, you sit up groggily. The lexicon chamber looks different now, cozier. The air smells faintly of ozone and rosemary. Hot tea floats beside your head, offering a cup with mechanical courtesy. You take it, because why not? It's hot and tastes like childhood, though you can't remember why. Leonardo plops the eggs onto something that resembles toast, but flickers like a hologram when you blink too fast. "You're going to need energy," he says. "They're going to come looking for you." You ask, "Who's they?" He finally turns, gives you a grin that could charm a cranky basilisk. Every age has its guards, gatekeepers of order. Like in my day, it was the Vatican. Now, it's mostly algorithms with delusions of grandeur. He hands you a plate. "Eat." You chew in silence, noting that even future food tastes vaguely like cardboard if you're stressed enough. Once you're done, he pulls a sliver of silver metal from his robe. It unfolds like paper and reveals a glowing interactive map of the city. "Yes," he says, "is Florence Alpha, not to be confused with Florence Beta, which sank after the Crypto Cathedral riots of 2347. Long story." You stare at the glowing sprawl. Hey, it looks organic, like a brain grown upside down. "I still don't know why you're helping me." Leonardo lifts one shoulder. Call it curiosity or nostalgia. "You remind me of someone I never quite became." He taps the map. It zooms in on a glowing node labeled Skyvo, Archives Division. They store everything, their every face ever registered, every memory transferred, every thought someone didn't want to carry anymore. If you're going to figure out who deleted you or why, that's where we start. The journey to the vault begins in silence, except for the occasional buzz of hovered transport tubes overhead, okay? And the faintly rhythmic clacking of Leonardo's wooden sandals on the pavement. He says he wears them on purpose because nostalgia is a form of protest. You don't ask what that means. You're too busy trying to look normal, which is difficult when the vending machine behind you refuses to scan your face and whispers, "Unauthorized consumer reported," as you duck into an alleyway covered in moss that glows faintly blue. Leonardo turns and whispers, Did you know the first vending machines were invented in ancient Alexandria? They dispensed holy water. People have always trusted machines with their blessings. You blink at him. Historians still argue whether Heron of Alexandria actually invented it. He adds, but let's pretend he did. It makes the future more poetic. Finally, you reach a glass bridge that arcs over what looks like an ocean, except the ocean is suspended midair, and swimming through it are digitized whales made of pure light. Leonardo doesn't stop. He seems used to this kind of thing. You stumble after him, very aware that your reflection isn't appearing on the bridge's surface. I need you to act like you belong, says over his shoulder. That's hard when reality keeps glitching, you reply. He snorts. Reality's been glitching since 1452. Most people just stop noticing. At the end of the bridge is a building that appears to be upside down, tapered toward the sky like an icicle made of copper and glass. No doors, no guards. It's just a single orb floating in front, blinking slowly like a very bored eyeball. Leonardo nods at it. Allow me. He steps forward and mutters something in a mix of Latin, Italian, and what you think might be Python code. The orb whirs, scans his face, then turns to you. Unknown entity, it says. Record not found. Proceed. With escort only. Leonardo waves. Come on, sighed the sky vault. Everything is quiet. The silence has weight. You walk through endless halls of light, each column humming with stored lives, memories, hopes, taxes, everything. At one point you pass a family of tourists, dressed in glittering holographic ponchos, watching a display labeled 20th Century Obsessions. Ducks, denim, democracy. You pause. Ducks. Leonardo shrugs. Historians still argue whether the duck cults were ironic or sincere. Eventually, you reach a terminal shaped like a tree hides, leaves made of shifting data. Leonardo gestures. Touch it. You reach out. The moment your fingers connect with the data leaf, the tree flares bright and hisses. File locate access denied, security override required. Leonardo swears in fluent Renaissance Italian, then glances at you. Well, that means you're not a ghost. You do exist. You ask, what does that mean? It means someone locked your file, which they only do for VIPs, criminals, or time anomalies. Oh good, you say. I'm either famous, dangerous, or a glitch. He smiles grimly. In this timeline, all three usually go together. Then, without warning, something shifts, a low, rising hum. The lights dim. The sky vault begins to whisper, million voices speaking in data, and one of them is saying your name, or something close to it. Can't quite hear it, but you feel it behind your ribs, like recognition. And suddenly, you remember something. A painting, half finished. A woman with no face. Your hand holding the brush. Then flames. In silence, you stagger backward. Leonardo grabs your arm, steadying you. Starting, he says softly. Your mind is rethreading. We have to be careful now. The past might try to rewrite itself. Kay, you nod, too stunned to speak, and deep in your bones. You know something else. You're not the first version of yourself to walk these halls. You're still shaking as you follow Leonardo down a corridor that doesn't seem to end. The lights flicker in sympathy, pulsing like they're aware of your confusion. He doesn't say anything for a while. Walks hands behind his back, like he's back in the Florentine court, pacing before explaining why your flying machine prototype definitely wasn't designed to decapitate the mayor. Eventually, he stops at a narrow door you hadn't noticed before, blends into the wall, like an oversight in the code. Here, he says, it's safer off-grid. The door hisses open. You step inside. The room smells like old books and newer secrets. It's filled with outdated tech-wired headphones, a vinyl turntable, a defibrillator labeled just in case, and an entire wall covered in sticky notes that rearrange themselves when you look too long. Leonardo kicks over a crate and sits. You remembered something, he says, didn't you? You nod slowly. A painting, woman with no face, my hand holding the brush, then fire. He leans forward. Do you remember what you were? Painting. What her name was? No, you whisper, but it felt like I'd done it 100 times before. He smiles, but there's worry in the corners of his mouth. That's not nothing. That's a ghost fragment. You frown? A what? Ghost fragments, he says, are memory echoes. Think of them as bruises left on time's skin. When someone edits history, especially personal history, doesn't delete cleanly. You're remembering things your official record says never happened. That painting, it might have been your last real act before someone scrubbed you out. You sit down across from him, heart pounding. But why would someone erase me? Leonardo shrugs. Same reason. They burned books, silenced philosophers, or banned left-handed lutes. Fear, or worse, boredom. You blink, left-handed lutes. He grins. Historians still argue whether those ever actually existed. I like to believe they did. Makes the Renaissance feel more punk rock. He stands and starts rummaging through a drawer filled with tech you're 90% sure is illegal. If you're seeing ghost fragments, we need to amplify them. There's a place for that. It's dangerous, yes, but enlightening. Like cheese left out in summer. You deadpan? That's comforting. He pulls out a small headset and tosses it to you. It looks suspiciously like an Oculus rig duct taped to a dream catcher. Put that on. We're going memory diving. You hesitate. What if I don't like what I find? Leonardo shrugs again. Self-knowledge is rarely flattering, but at least it's yours. Okay, you slip the headset on. Darkness swallows you. You're in a garden. The air is thick with lilacs and static. It smells exactly like your grandmother's attic, even though you're pretty sure you never had a grandmother. The sky is made of parchment, and stars blink like ink blotches. Something about this feels deeply stolen. You walk forward. A fountain gurgles nearby, shaped like a giant eye, crying clear water. Someone is sitting beside it. A child. She's painting. You inch closer, heart thudding. Okay? The canvas shows the faceless woman again only. This time, her face is starting to form. Just a nose and a hint of a smile. The child looks up at you. Her eyes are yours. She says, "You promised you'd finish this." Before you can speak, the painting catches fire again, but this time, the flames don't burn. They fold. Two geometric shapes. Squares that twist into spirals, that twist into you. Gasp awake. Ripping the headset off, Leonardo catches it before it hits the floor. You're sweating. What the hell was that? A nested recall, he says. Means someone tampered with your timeline more than once, and badly. You're starting to break through the edits. Stand on wobbly legs, head swimming. She said, "I promised to finish it." He nods slowly. Maybe that's what you're here to do. But who was she? Leonardo takes a breath, then hands you a small metal disc. Only one way to find out. We need to speak to the archivist. You frown. So wasn't that the vault? No, he says. The vault stores data. The archivist remembers it. It's one of the last living nano-minted memory keepers. It's old school, analog, human brain, no backups, and she'll know who I am. If anyone does, he says. But she doesn't talk to just anyone. We'll need to offer a trade. Something rare. You look around the room. Like what? Leonardo taps his temple. Like a story. A true one. Something history didn't record. Something you remember. Glance at the headset. Still warm from your skin. It's that memory of the child. The painting. The promise that was yours. Maybe your first real possession in this strange new world. You nod. Let's go. The journey to the archivist isn't exactly scenic. You travel underground through maintenance tunnels, still lined with posters from some kind of 22nd century punk revolution. A few of them feature Leonardo's face badly drawn, but unmistakable with the caption, "The past is a weapon." Nice fan art, you mutter. He chuckles. They tried to ban my name in 2190. Made me a cult hero instead. You pass an old rail line that's now a garden. Glowing fungi grow in patterns that shift when you step near. In one corner, someone has built a statue of a pigeon wearing a crown. You ask, why the royal pigeon? Leonardo doesn't even look. Historians still argue where the pigeons ran a secret government during the AI wars. I choose to believe it. Eventually, you reach a hatch shaped like a spine. Leonardo knocks in a rhythm you don't recognize. It opens inside. It's all velvet shadows and humming glass. The air smells like lemon rinds and ink. At the center sits a woman who looks ageless, hair pinned up in a way that says, "I invented libraries." Eyes sharp enough to slice paper. The archivist. She looks at you and says, "You're late." You blink. "Have we met?" "No," she says, "but your absence was loud." Leonardo steps forward and offers her the metal disc. She waves it away. "I don't need your trinkets, Leonardo. I want the story." Leonardo turns to you. It's your turn. You speak. You tell her what you saw in the garden. The child, the promise, a painting, the flames that folded instead of burned. You don't embellish. You don't need to. Every word tastes ancient and raw. When you finish, the archivist closes her eyes. "I remember now," she whispers. "You weren't erased. You hid. You requested a full redaction voluntary. You made us promise to forget." You stagger. "Why would I do that?" She looks at you, almost sadly, "Because you created something the world wasn't ready to see. It's a work of art so powerful, it fractured the mind of everyone who saw it. It became contagious, viral, aesthetic contagion. So you painted it one last time, and then asked to be forgotten." Leonardo murmurs, "The faceless woman." She nods. "Your muse, your curse." You feel something loosen in your chest. Not quite relief, not quite grief. Something older. The archivist stands. You still have time to remember the rest. But be careful. Memory is a double-edged thing. You leave the chamber changed. Outside, the sky flickers like a memory ping. Overwritten. You whisper to yourself, "I chose this." But you don't yet know why. You walk in silence. Not out of solemnity, though yes. The idea that you willingly erased yourself for the world's sake is a bit of a mood killer. But because your brain is trying to do 5 things at once. Rebuild an identity. Process a centuries-old memory virus. And not trip on the uneven tiles of a tunnel last maintained around the time Pluto got reclassified. Leonardo's ahead, humming something suspiciously close to Daft Punk's Technologic, but with lyrics about paint and betrayal. You catch up. "So, if I asked to be erased, how did I wake up?" He glances sideways. Either you changed your mind, or someone else did. The tunnel curves, and you enter a station buried beneath ruins. It's beautiful, in a tragic week cracked. Mosaics, showing scenes of cities with domes and hovercrafts that clearly never made it past prototype. Some of the tiles depict flames eating away at libraries. One corner has been freshly graffitied with a phrase that makes your stomach turn. "Let her sleep." Leonardo notices your stare. A warning or a prayer, depends on who wrote it. You shiver, remembering the child's voice. You promised you'd finish this. You sit on a broken bench while Leonardo fishes something out of his satchel. "Time to see how deep this goes," he says, handing you what looks like a metal bookmark with wires. "We're going to the index." "The index," he nods. All preserved memories live there archived, encoded, sometimes decrypted, sometimes rotting. Think of it as humanity's subconscious. We'll need to find traces of your final project, the one that made you disappear. You frown, and this thing, scanner, plugs into the central memory net, but it needs a biological signature tied to the memory we're looking for. Lucky for us, he taps your head gently. You brought your own. Plugging into a collective memory archive sounds poetic until you realize it involves lying flat in a capsule shaped suspiciously like a giant thermos. As the lid closes, Leonardo gives a casual wave. Try not to lose your mind. Again, you're plunged into darkness, then light, then color, then sensation. The index doesn't look like a library. It looks like a city made entirely of fragments, buildings half remembered. Doorways that lead nowhere. Staircases built from broken piano keys. In the sky, constellations blink in the shape of famous thinkers' faces. You spot Galileo, Ada, Lovelace, even that guy who invented the potato chip by accident because someone kept sending fries back. You walk through a street that reshapes itself with each step. Signposts flicker between languages. A mural on one wall shows the evolution of paint itself, from cave ochres to nanobite-infused pigment. One section glows, caution, unstable imagery, a little on the nose. You think you find a mirror embedded in the wall. The reflection glitches. For a second, you see yourself with eyes made of swirling ink. Then it stabilizes. It's your face, not quite as you remembered it, but real. Hey, you turn. A man stands behind you. He's tall, wearing a shirt that says ask me about prehistoric dentistry. He squints. You're not indexed. You blink. What? You're not in the system. No ID strand. No trace tag. He pauses. Are you a ghost? Not on purpose. He frowns. That's extremely illegal. Could destabilize the thread structures. You sigh. Add it to my resume. The man shrugs and vanishes into a bookshop made of bones. You do not follow. Instead, move toward a tall structure labeled simply Disputed Memories. Inside, the temperature drops. You pass plaques that say things like Cleopatra was Greek, not Egyptian, in the Library of Alexandria, burned. More than once, a familiar chill coats your skin. One corridor pulses with light. Sign reads, Aesthetic Contagion Archive, access restricted. You step closer. The scanner in your pocket buzzes. You hold it up to the door. It scans your palm, then your iris. Then, with a very judgy beep, your memories. The door opens. Inside the Contagion Archive, everything is wrapped in shimmer. Not literal glitter, though there is glitter. It's inexplicably, but shimmer, like the edges of a dream you're trying not to wake from. Memory threads float around you in helixes. You recognize pieces, snatches of childhood, a laugh in a studio, woman humming, brush in your hand, a canvas that rejects every stroke. Then, one thread pulses red. You reach out. The moment you touch it, the scene unfolds. You're standing in a circular room, surrounded by art, your art, paintings that shift when you look directly at them, not because they're digital, but because they know you're watching. At the center, the faceless woman. Only this time, she has a face, and she's crying. You watch your past self step back from the canvas. It's trembling. I can't show this to anyone, you say. A voice behind you unseen replies, you already did. The thread snaps. You're thrown backward, crashing out of the memory thread into a soft pile of books. You blink up at Leonardo, who is very clearly trying not to say, I told you so. If you saw something, you nod. The painting, I finished it, but I was afraid. He helps you stand. Of what? That people would see what I saw, and that they'd understand. Leonardo's face darkens, and that understanding broke them. You nod. So I made them forget, and I forgot too. He's quiet for a long moment. Some say art is meant to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Maybe you just took it a little too literally. You smile weakly. Historians still argue whether I was a genius or a cautionary tale. Leonardo grins. Aren't those the same thing? You're both quiet again. Then he asks, do you want to see it? The painting? The last copy? It's hidden, secured off network. You buried it for yourself to find. Left clues in a very dramatic audio diary. Let me guess, an iambic pentameter. Clothes, limericks. You've grown, of course. He puts a hand on your shoulder. We'll find it. But first, we have to get out of here. You both turn toward the exit, but the door isn't there anymore. Instead, the woman from the painting stands in the archway. Only this time, she's real, and she remembers you. She doesn't speak. She simply looks at you with those eyes no longer faceless, no longer ink or absence or metaphor, but real, tangible, present eyes. They are the same ones from the painting, not a reproduction, not a projection. Her, and they are full of something that, frankly, can't handle right now. Recognition. Leonardo is uncharacteristically quiet beside you. You glance over, expecting a quip or an eyebrow raise. Instead, he's frozen, not out of fear, but reverence. He breathes. She got out. The woman tilts her head. Her voice is barely louder than the hum of the memory net. You left me. T hit you like gravity you forgot existed. You did. You left her buried in pigment and code and forgotten dreams. And she has waited. I didn't know. You say, throat dry. I didn't remember. You remembered enough to come looking. She replies, walking slowly into the room. Her steps don't echo, as if the archive itself isn't sure she's real. They tried to erase me, and you let them. Leonardo clears his throat gently, like a man interrupting a very awkward ghost reunion. Sorry to intrude on this deeply symbolic showdown, but we might want to avoid collapsing the entire memory net with unresolved trauma. Again, you turn to her. How are you here? You were a painting. Historians still argue whether I ever was. She touches the edge of one of the memory helixes, and it flickers violently. I was a construct, an embodiment, an idea so powerful. It became real, and you fed me everything. Emotion, you whisper, obsession, guilt, and beauty. She adds, you painted me with truths you couldn't say out loud. And when the world wasn't ready, you shut it all down. Leonardo scratches his chin. Okay, not to interrupt the museum-worthy existential metaphor, but if she's alive, walking, and memory-compatible, doesn't that mean she's part of the index now? She nods. I am, but I'm also outside it. I exist because you did. Your need to create something that could not be forgotten, even if you tried. The three of you leave the Contagion archive not because you want to, but because the place begins to shudder softly under the weight of unreconciled memory. Doors you didn't used to notice are now slamming shut. Walls bleed old brushstrokes. One statue even starts to hum a tune from 1990s pop radio. You don't stay long enough to find out why. Back in the station, you sit in silence. Leonardo draws something in a notebook, what looks like a map of nowhere. The woman, you're still not ready to say her name. She even has one, observes the tunnel ceiling like it might answer questions faster than either of you can. So, you say finally, we need to find the painting. She nods. Original? Why? Because it contains the last piece, she says. The moment you tried to delete, the part that couldn't be digitized. You blink. You mean I painted something that can't be scanned? Leonardo chuckles. Oh, plenty of ancient materials resist scanning. The Aztecs used insect-based varnish that's still messing with infrared tech. But this, he points at you. You encoded emotion in a spectrum we didn't even know could store information. Fringe theory, sure, but some say pre-modern pigments could absorb psychic residue. You stare. You're telling me I psychically encrypted a painting? The woman shrugs. Oh, you had a really good cry on it. The journey takes you above ground for the first time since your awakening. The surface is stranger than you remember. Not ruined, exactly just finished. Buildings grow like coral, half-coated and shimmering, as if unsure whether they're real. Trees flicker between species. A bird watches you from the branch of a digital elm, then vanishes in a burst of binary feathers. This isn't the future, you murmur. It's a dream built out of memory. Leonardo nods. Civilizations used to build monuments. Now they build simulations of what they think monuments felt like. Huh? The woman leads you through a garden of disused sculptures. Huh? You pass a cracked replica of the Venus de Milo made entirely out of mirrored glass. Its arms lie nearby, delicately folded like napkins. Do you know where it is? You ask her. She nods. The crypt gallery. Leonardo groans. Of course, the gallery underneath the ocean. You blink. We're going underwater. Not just underwater, he says. Under remembered water. You wait. He sighs. It's complicated. At the Porta half-sunken marina, lit by algae-powered lamps, you find your ride. It's a submersible shaped like a seashell. Its name, painted in cursive across the hall, reads the echo of echoes. It's very subtle as you descend. The world darkens into soft blues and greens. Through the windows, You glimpse things swimming. Some look mechanical, some very much not. One has a face suspiciously similar to yours. Do not wave at that, Leonardo says quietly. It feeds on recognition. The woman leans closer, to the glass. They still remember you, even here. You stare into the depth. I didn't mean to become a myth. She smiles. No one ever does. The crypt gallery appears like a dream, carved into the side of a submerged cliff. The entrance glows with impossible light gold and violet and deep maroon. Inside, gravity becomes more suggestion than law. You drift toward the exhibit hall, where memory paintings float in transparent bubbles, each preserved in pressurized silence. You find yours. The frame is simple, handmade, no labels, no plaque, just the painting, and it's wrong. Not unfinished, just incomplete. There's an absence in the center, a space where something once was. Leonardo frowns. You remove the moment. You nod. I thought I could erase it, not just digitally, universally. The woman steps forward and places her hand over the canvas. The bubble hisses open. Its painting pulses once, then again, and then begins to bleed. Not with paint, with memory. Images pour from the canvas like smoke. Your hands trembling, your brush breaking. The moment when someone, government, institute, resistance, barged in and told you it had to be shut down, that it was too powerful, that people were going mad, haunted, inspired, enraged, that the painting was an idea with teeth. You tried to destroy it, but it wouldn't die. The memory stops. The painting is whole again. This time, the woman in the painting looks directly at you and speaks. You were never meant to hide, she says. You are meant to finish the story. You fall to your knees, overwhelmed. The echoes, the forgotten faces, the erased journals, they all make sense now. You weren't trying to protect the world from the painting. You were trying to protect the painting from the world. I don't know if I can finish it, you whisper. Leonardo kneels beside you. You already did. This is just the unveiling. The gallery shifts, light warms, the doorway opens. Carved in stone and memory, it leads upward. Where does it go, you ask? To the present, she says. Or what's left of it. You stand, breath shaking. Then let's go. The stairwell is carved from material that doesn't quite decide whether it's stone or memory. Each step compresses beneath your foot like ancient clay, yet leaves behind no impression. Above you, the passage pulses with soft amber light, as though you're inside the veins of some long-dead god. Slowly ascending toward its dreaming skull, Leonardo, naturally, whistles. You ever think, he muses, that the future didn't really arrive, just wandered in half asleep, forgot its pants, and never left? You snort, almost involuntarily. The sound bounces around the chamber, like laughter in an empty house. Even the woman, the painting, who now walks beside you, cracks the edge of a smile. The climb continues. As you rise, the environment begins to change. The air becomes textured with sound echoes of languages you can't quite understand. Heartbeats that aren't your own. Fragments of lullabies that your grandmother might have sung to your mother. In a world that no longer exists. You reach the top. It's not a door that greets you, but a threshold. A tear in the corridor's end, like someone made of silk had stepped too hard and ripped reality open. You walk through the present. As it turns out, is a city, but not a city like you remember. Not steel and glass or concrete slick. This city breathes. Its architecture rises like root systems and cathedral spines, interwoven with soft biolight and warm gold circuitry. Streets pulse like veins. Buildings dream in slow, rhythmic gestures. Windows blinking, doors sighing open, spires swaying slightly, just slightly, as if moved by an unseen breeze. People pass you, but none look twice. No one recognizes you. It should feel like rejection, but instead, it feels clean, like your story has reset. They know of you, the woman says, but they don't know you. Not anymore. Leonardo points to a nearby tower, shaped like a rib cage. That's the core. If your painting lives anywhere, It's there. You nod, but don't move. There's something strange in the air. Scent. Not unpleasant, just deeply familiar, like old turpentine, or sandalwood, or regret. The woman breathes in deeply. It remembers you. Inside the tower, time stops behaving politely. Each floor exists in a different century. One moment, you're stepping onto Renaissance cobblestones, and the next, you're walking through a Cold War office thick with typewriter clicks and cigarette ghosts. Then a medieval monastery, then a 1980s shopping mall, then an obsidian black chamber humming with alien equations. One point, you pass a floor entirely dedicated to someone's childhood bedroom littered with action figures and a terrifyingly loud Furby. Leonardo winces. That was a mistake. You laugh, then pause. Wait, is this all your memory? The woman finishes. Yes, but I don't remember any of this. She places a hand on your shoulder. You were designed to forget. Artists often are. You pour everything into the work, and then it leaves you. But the work remembers. At the top of the tower is a single room, circular, bare, except for a canvas. It's massive, at least 12 feet tall. Land it glows faintly in the dim light, like a sleeping face behind frosted glass. You approach it slowly, heartbeat thick. In your ears, the painting is covered by a cloth, not a modern one, linen, aged and frayed at the corners. Your initials are stitched into the bottom, clumsily. You remember doing it, not why, just the act of sewing, your hands shaking. You look to the woman. Will it destroy me? Only if you let it, she says. Leonardo pats your back, gentle for once. If it helps, I brought snacks. You lift the cloth. The painting burns itself into your brain in silence. It's not just her, though she's there, centered, lit by impossible chiaroscuro. Her face is not quite the same as the one who stands beside Oob. She's clearly a version, an earlier rendering, rawer, sadder. Behind her stretch your memory's fractured cities, broken laughter, blueprints for machines that never worked, entire scenes that you don't remember painting, but instantly recognize. In the upper corner is a motif that reappears, a moth, always hovering, always burning, and in the lower left her face, but not as it is now, as it was before. Before you tried to erase it, before the world forgot, you stagger back, breath stolen. This was supposed to be destroyed. It almost was, the woman says. You tried, but the canvas wouldn't let you. Leonardo steps closer, squinting. Is that? No, can't be. That's the Vitruvian man hidden in the brushstrokes. You blink. Wait, what? He points, guiding your gaze with a finger. See, it's there, between the shoulder and the arch. That spiral. It's not just composition, it's geometry. It's sacred geometry. You hid patterns in this thing. The golden ratio, Fibonacci sequences. A map. A map to what? You whisper. Back to yourself. The woman says. The painting begins to move. Not in a horror movie. Wayne, no crawling out of frames, or sudden shrieks. Just a shift. A soft undulation, like it's breathing. The background flows. The moth flutters. And then, the version of you in the corner blinks. You freeze. Leonardo, you whisper. It sees me. Technically, you see you, he replies, chewing something suspiciously gummy, which probably breaks a few time laws. The painting version of you begins to speak. No sound escapes, but you know what it's saying. You don't need to hear it. The words bloom behind your eyes like old film. You are not forgotten. You are not erased. You are the thread. You are the fray. You are the hand and the brush and the silence in between. Finish the painting. You collapse to your knees. The room begins to dissolve, not violently, but gently, like a dream ending. The tower shudders. Now what? You ask, breathless. Leonardo shrugs. Guess it's time to wake up. You turn to the woman. She's already fading. You were the idea, she says softly, and I was the memory. But you've become something else now. What? The witness. And then she's gone. You and Leonardo descend the tower as the city flickers around you. People pause. This time, Some recognize you. They don't point, they don't gasp, but they step aside. They bow, slightly not in reverence, but in relief, like something lost has finally come home. You ask quietly, was she ever real? Leonardo smiles faintly. Historians still argue whether she was ever truly human or just the most beautiful idea that refused to die. You breathe deeply. The air tastes like wet canvas and old stars. The sky opens above you, and somewhere, maybe not here, maybe not now, a blank canvas waits. There's a term you've heard before, palimpsest, an old manuscript that's been scraped clean and rewritten, but never quite fully erased. Faint traces of the original text still whisper beneath the new ink. That's what this world feels like now. A future scribbled hastily over a past that never left. The street beneath your feet has changed. It's smooth and glistening, but the cracks are deliberate, shaped like ancient Roman roads. Beneath the paving stones, faint glows pulse, like heartbeat monitor lines. You walk, and it hums to your rhythm. Leonardo's munching on something again. Possibly a marshmallow. Possibly a fragment of the Library of Alexandria. Hard to tell with him. So, what's next? You asked. He gestures ahead to what looks like a public square. Only, it's floating mid-air, suspended by columns of shimmering sound. The plaza shivers slightly, as if adjusting to your presence. Now, we figure out what you're supposed to do with the truth. You sigh. Couldn't I just go back to sleep? You already did, he says. Centuries of it. That's why nobody remembers you. Not because they chose to forget, because time moved without asking your permission. The square is filled with statues. You almost don't realize they're statues at first. They move, subtly, like people in deep thought. Their eyes shift, their brows furrow, but they're made of some transparent crystal. And inside, each one spins a series of gears, threads, and bioluminescent tendrils. They're all artists, says Leonardo. Every one of them. You walk among them. Names flicker softly at their bases. Some you recognize, some you don't. But all of them matter. All of them are stories that built this future, brick by invisible brick. And there, at the center, a pedestal with your name, but no statue. Just a mirror. You stare into it. Nothing stares back. A sharp bell tone echoes through the city. Not a digital chime. A real bell cast in bronze, ringing with the kind of authority that makes birds panic and monks kneel. Leonardo turns serious. That's the archive. The city responds. Pathways reshape, stretch, and curl to form a straight line toward the sound. Are we being summoned? You ask. Leonardo nods. Judged. You walk toward it. Each step triggers a memory. Not vividly, not sharply, but as though your feet remember what your brain has long abandoned. You think of a lecture hall filled with flickering slides, of a field in France where the grass grew over a forgotten grave, of a cathedral ceiling you once painted but never signed. As you move, people begin to follow, quietly, not chanting, not cheering, just walking behind you like they've been waiting. Don't look back, Leonardo warns, or you'll start to believe this is about you. Spot earring. It's a machine. It's a machine and a cathedral, and possibly a living organism. It rises in silence, not from the ground, but from within the minds of those who approach. The closer you get, the more real it becomes. By the time you reach its gates, it towers above you, seamless obsidian, veined with flickering light. The doors don't open. They dissolve down inside. It's colder than it should be. The ceiling shifts like clouds caught in amber. Cod. The floor reflects not your body, but your thoughts, tiny silver ripples forming with each stray memory. Around the chamber stand 12 figures, hooded, faceless, ageless, statues, robots, archivists. Historians still argue whether they were ever alive. Leonardo whispers. One of them steps forward. It speaks without sound, but the words arrive, all the same, threading into your brain like embroidery. You were once forgotten, now remembered. You must decide. Remain myth or become memory. You swallow. What does that mean? You ask. Your voice sounds too small in this place. Leonardo doesn't answer. He just looks up at the sky shifting inside the dome, where constellations rearrange themselves into BRUSHSTROKES. Another figure steps forward. A projection appears between you. Your painting, still glowing, still incomplete. He left this unfinished because you feared it was too honest. Now you may finish it or destroy it. Your breath catches. It's not safe, you whisper. If people see this, they'll know what I tried to hide. Truth is always dangerous, especially when it wears beauty. Leonardo murmurs, you don't have to finish it. But if I don't, I disappear again. He nods, probably, but disappearing isn't always the same as dying. You step forward. His painting hovers in the air before you, suspended between choice and consequence. You lift your hand. Brushstrokes appear without contact, your thoughts shaping pigment. Your breath moving light. You paint silence, grief, a moment no one else saw, and a truth you never dared say out loud. You paint the last time you believed in something, the time you stopped. And finally, you paint her, not the idealized version, not the myth, but her real and worn and soft-eyed, imperfect. She looks at you and smiles, and then the painting is whole. The archive pulses, the hooded figures bow not to worship, but in recognition. The city outside shifts again, subtly, as though relieved. Its memory has been restored to its place in the weave. Your mirror in the plaza now reflects a real person. Someone flawed, someone forgotten, but someone true. You did it, Leonardo says, arms crossed. You remembered yourself, but I don't feel different. He chuckles. Of course not. You were always this. Now you just know. You pause. Was this real? He shrugs. Doesn't matter. You walk out of the inn, archive, and into dusk. The city is softer now. Trees sway where there were none before. People laugh more easily. Someone hums a melody you once wrote in your sleep. You pass your own statue. It's not a grand pose, just you sitting, brush in hand, eyes half closed. Content above it is engraved, one word, witness. You sit beside it, exhausted. Leonardo offers you the last marshmallow. You take it. Hey, he says, next time you wake up in the future, try leaving a note. Yeah? You laugh, and somewhere deep inside the archive, your painting keeps breathing. The stars above are wrong. You notice it as you sit there, chewing the marshmallow Leonardo handed you. It tastes vaguely like sage and static electricity. The sky overhead doesn't follow any constellation map. You remember not that you were ever an astronomy nerd, but still, Orion shouldn't have antlers, and the moon. It's there, and it isn't. Like a memory from someone else's dream. Leonardo notices your gaze. The sky here adapts to the collective subconscious. It reflects not what is but what we expect. So, I expect chaos. Apparently, the night hums, not with crickets or wind or anything natural, but with low-frequency vibrations. It's as if the very idea of future is pairing, pleased with itself, around you. The city has dimmed its neon veins, now pulsing like a relaxed heartbeat. Streetlights flicker with gentle candlelight, though they're clearly powered by something more advanced than wax and prayer. People gather in the plaza behind you. It's not crowds, exactly, more like puzzle pieces finally drifting back to the right table. They talk quietly, some sitting, others standing with hands clasped behind backs. A few are crying, but not the bad kind. The kind that comes when something inside you finally makes sense. Do they remember me now? You ask. Leonardo shrugs. Does it matter? That's becoming a theme, isn't it? You exhale slowly. I guess not. Hey, you were never really forgotten, he says, more gently this time. You were just misplaced. History isn't a perfect arc of it, more like a teenager's closet. Stuff gets shoved to the back. Then someone opens a drawer and finds an ancient letter inside a hoodie pocket. You smirk. So I'm the hoodie. Precisely. You follow him, again, no destination this time. It's walking, breathing, letting the city settle into your bones like it's always belonged there. You pass through what might have once been a museum, maybe a theater, It's hard to say. The building is half ruined, deliberately. Giant glass walls are cracked, but held together by golden stitching, literal seams of gold melted into the fractures. It's beautiful in a way only broken things can be. Inside, holograms flicker in slow motion. A woman reciting poetry while covered in moss. A man trying to cook eggs with a laser. A group of children painting a whale onto the side of a skyscraper. These moments loop and layer on top of one another. A kaleidoscope of forgotten beauty. You stop at a podium. On it, a stone tablet. Not digital, not interactive, just stone. Chiseled text in 100 languages. And above it, your own handwriting etched in glowing red. You don't remember writing it. Read it aloud, Leonardo suggests. You do? Truth is not the opposite of fiction. Truth is the fiction that endures. He claps once. Well said. Past you? A pause. Is that true? You ask. Historians still argue whether you ever actually wrote that. He replies, eyes twinkling. But it's stuck. That's the point. You pass another room. Inside is a single candle, floating mid-air. Below it, a violin made entirely of glass is slowly melting into a bowl of silver ink. An offering, Leonardo whispers. People leave something of themselves here. Not things they owned, things they meant. You watch as a new object forms beneath the candle. A small paper boat, crumpled slightly, still damp, maybe from tears, maybe from memory. It feels weirdly familiar, and then it hits you. It's yours. You made it when you were 6, during a thunderstorm blackout, bored out of your skull. You floated it across your kitchen floor while your parents argued in another room. How the hell is that here? You murmur. Leonardo gives you a long look. This city doesn't archive objects, Ken. It archives emotional residue. The things that mattered, whether or not you knew they did. Kay, you stare at the boat. It's folded exactly the way you remember, lopsided, hopeful, a little sad. A bet shouldn't still exist, but then again, neither should you. Farther into the ruins, you find an elevator shaft open to the air. No cables, no buttons, just a floating panel that asks, up, down, or inward. You glance at Leonardo. Inward, he says, without hesitation. And before you can argue, the world around you collapses, not violently, but like water spiraling into a drain. You're still standing, still breathing, but everything else has dissolved into soft black ink. You are now inside a memory, your memory. But it's been caded. A version of your childhood bedroom materializes, except the posters are wrong. Instead of bands and movies, they depict strange celestial diagrams and blueprints of devices that never existed. Your desk is covered in sketches, not yours, but in your hand. Some feature cities, like the one you're in now. Wait, you say, did I design this place? Leonardo walks past you, inspecting the sketches, bits of it, in dreams, in thoughts you never finished. You wouldn't believe how much of the future gets built on half-formed ideas people forget they had. Sounds dangerous, he grins. Oh, it absolutely is. You open a journal on the desk, dot side, written over and over. Don't forget what matters. On the last page, crude drawing of yourself, eyes wide, smiling, standing next to someone. Their face is blank. The caption reads, "She believed me when I said I'd come back." You don't know who she is. You hate that you don't know. You sit on the floor. Was I supposed to remember all of this? No, Leonardo says, sitting beside you. You were supposed to feel it. Memories, overrated. Emotion is what survives. You let yourself sink deeper. The room fades. Night again, but this time real. Stars above our stars. The old ones. You lie back in the grass. Leonardo joins you. This was one of your happiest places. I don't even know where this is. He closes his eyes. Tet, doesn't matter. Tet. A silence falls between you. Then, hey, he says quietly. You know the ancient Egyptians used fermented crocodile dung as contraceptive paste? You blink. That's oddly specific. He nods sagely. And yet, somehow, less strange than floating violin candles and trauma paper boats. You laugh, gently, then sigh, then breathe, because it's for the first time since waking up in this place, you feel okay not knowing everything. You feel enough. You wake up not fully, but enough to notice that time has bent again. You're no longer in the field, but walking across an enormous bridge made of braided glass and roots. Beneath you, an endless valley glows softly with bioluminescent moss and serpentine rivers that loop in mathematical spirals. Overhead, the constellations have stabilized. Orion has lost his antlers. Next to you, Leonardo is silent, not brooding, just quiet in that comfortable, deeply human way, like someone watching a storm from a window with a cup of something warm. You ask, is this still the future? He tilts his head. One version of it, a possible future. It's constructed from half-truths, soft regrets, unburied dreams. The past and the future aren't opposites, they're lovers. Quotes. You snort. That's poetic. Okay, I stole it from myself. You walk farther until the bridge ends, depositing you in a forest whose leaves flicker like candle flames. Every footstep you take lights the ground briefly beneath you. The path winds itself into being only showing you what's next when you've fully committed to the step. You know, you say, this reminds me of those old medieval pilgrimage trails. Leonardo perks up. Yes, like the Camino de Santiago. Pilgrims would follow scallop shells carved into the stone, trusting they'd reach the next town before nightfall. Many didn't, but still, they walked. You glance around, and here we are. Exactly. Future doesn't wait at the end of the road. It is the road. You've been walking through it your whole life. In a clearing ahead, something waits. It's a building, not a house, not a tower, just a structure. It's familiar and alien at once, like seeing your own face carved in another culture's mythology. The walls are layered with decades of styles Gothic arches fused with postmodern steel curves. Mossy brickwork shaped into Fibonacci spirals. A stained glass window depicts a faceless figure holding a lantern. You swear it's you. You step through the threshold and feel it instantly. This place is sacred, not religious. It's not in the traditional sense, but sacred in that it remembers everything you ever forgot. The air tastes like cinnamon and static inside. There are rooms, not normal rooms, more like memory alcoves. Each door is marked with a phrase. Some are simple, your first lie, the meal you loved most. Others are heavier, when you gave up, the thing you never said. Are we supposed to go in? He asked. Leonardo raises an eyebrow. You're supposed to decide. You stand before a door marked when you were most afraid. Your fingers hesitate on the handle, then breathe in, turn. The room is quiet. It shows a single moment. You, small, under a table, hands over your ears, while adults shout in the next room. Their words don't matter. What matters is how tiny you felt, how you couldn't tell if the house was shaking or just you. You feel it again, faintly, that cold pit in your chest, and then softens, because now you know you've made it through. Back in the corridor, you find another door, the joy that didn't last. You open it. You're older now, laughing with someone on a subway platform. The train never comes, but you don't care. You're alive in that moment. You love them, they love you, okay? And the world feels kind. Leonardo touches your shoulder. This one's important. Why? Because fleeting joy is still joy. You watch the memory loop once more, then close the door with care. Historians still argue whether fleeting moments have more meaning than sustained ones. He muses aloud. But I say this, the blink of an eye still reflects the sun. You nod, a little misty. Blame the stained glass lighting. Eventually, the corridor ends. The last door is unmarked. You open it and step inside. It's blank, empty, except for a chair. In a mirror, you sit. The mirror doesn't show your face. It shows your weight, not body. Weight, emotional weight, experiences, sorrows, triumphs, regrets. You see the people you've loved, the ones you've disappointed, the strange dreams you gave up on too early. All of it. swirling behind your reflection like ink in water. And then, slowly, it fades. And for once, you don't feel erased. You feel held. When you exit, Leonardo is waiting with 2 cups of something steaming. You raise an eyebrow. What? Is it banyan roti? It helps with internal integration. It's also with indigestion. You sip. It tastes like black pepper and lullabies. You're almost ready, he says softly. For what? It's for remembering that being unknown isn't a curse. It's a clean slate. Outside, the landscape has changed again. Now it's dusk. The city's skyline gleams distantly across the water. Insects hum low lullabies in languages no one's bothered to translate. And on the hill below, a gathering of people, dozens, maybe more, wait beside a fire. They look up as you approach. Someone steps forward. You don't recognize her, not immediately, but your chest does. Some old ache, half-buried stirs. She smiles, tears bright. You came back? You blinked. Do I know you? Mo, but I know you. That breaks something open inside you, gently, like a lock, finally clicked free. She steps aside, letting you into the circle. You sit. No introductions. No explanations. Just presence. Someone hands you a carved object or a paper boat, now turned into a wooden keepsake. Someone else passes you a folded note. It says, simply, "We've been waiting." Leonardo settles beside you. "I should go soon," he murmurs. "This part's yours alone. Will I see you again?" He grins. "Depends which version of the future you end up in." You nod, sip your tea, stare into the fire, and for the first time since you woke up in the future, you finally feel like it knows who you are. Or better yet, maybe it doesn't have to. The fire crackles gently, casting golden waves against the smiling faces around you. There are no names here, no roles or labels, just warmth, shared silence, and a strange comfort that hums beneath your ribs like a soft cello note. Someone starts humming a tune, no words, just a melody, familiar, somehow. It's a kind of song you'd swear you'd heard as a child, even if you didn't. The kind that echoes more in the bones than the ears. Around the fire, others join in until the air is thick with sound and memory. You close your eyes. The melody folds around you like a blanket. When you open them again, Leonardo is gone. No note, no goodbye, no dramatic puff of smoke. He's just elsewhere now. And maybe that's how it was always going to be. Mentors, like dreams, tend to vanish once you stop needing them. You look to your left and see something strange. A stack of old-fashioned books. Real, dusty, physical books, something you haven't seen in this version of the future until now. The top one is blank, save for a title etched in gold. Your story. You pick it up. It's heavy, but not burdensome. Inside, the pages are mostly empty. Just a few scattered entries near the front, some doodles, fragments of memory, familiar lines of thought you've whispered to yourself during late night walks or early morning showers. You turn a page and find a sentence. You woke up in a future where no one remembered you, and it was the best thing that ever happened. You smile, a small, private one, not because it's funny, but because it's true in the way dreams often are. You close the book and hold it close. From the ridge beyond the firelight, the city calls again, not in the overwhelming, buzzing way it did before. Now it hums like a lullaby, like a place that's ready to meet you halfway. You walk slowly toward it, down a slope of glassy moss and soft, humming plants. The others remain behind, forgotten, just rooting you from afar. Their warmth clings to your skin like invisible ink, proof that you were seen. As you reach the base of the hill, a narrow path opens up. It's lined with streetlights that flicker only as you pass them, like fireflies on vacation. Each step forward feels less like walking and more like remembering how to exist. There's a terminal ahead. You step inside. Everything is quiet. No announcements. No chaos. Just ambient hums and soft, pulsing light. At the center, an interface glows with a familiar blue shimmer. It asks one thing. Enter your name. You hesitate. Then you type. I'm still figuring it out. The system pauses, accepts it. Of course it does. The transport pod arrives silently. You climb in. There's no destination listed. It's just a pulsing phrase on the console. Go where you're needed. You sit back. The pod hums gently as it rises and coasts forward through tunnels of air and memory. Outside the window, the city unfurls like a pop-up. Look, its rooftops, shaped like feathers. Its roads winding like ink poured into water. You pass structures built on impossible curves. Wind turbines shaped like violins. Gardens hanging upside down from floating scaffolds. A museum where exhibits rearrange. It fills based on who's looking at them. You're not surprised anymore. This future is a living thing. It stretches in two, bends for those willing to meet it with imagination. Historians still argue whether societies evolved by design or by accident, but you suspect it's both. Serendipity and stubbornness in equal measure. You smile again. Eventually, the pod lands on a platform over a gentle bay. The night is clear. You walk out and sit on the edge, legs dangling. The water reflects stars real and artificial spinning, slow pirouettes across the surface. A soft wind plays with your hair. You remember the paper boat, how it carried your name, how it was your tether to something that didn't last, and how it burned not out of cruelty, but necessity. Sometimes, to remember who you are, you have to forget who you were trying to be. You breathe in, slow. It's a kind of breath that feels older than lungs. Behind you, you hear laughter. Children, maybe, or people pretending to be children, which is really the same thing. You turn, and a group is gathered around a projection wall, playing with light, bending it into dancing shapes. Foxes, whales, cities with wings. One of them waves at you. You wave back. They don't ask your name. I just scoot over and make space. And just like that, you sit down. There's no need to speak, no need to explain. The light dances, the night listens, and you, stranger, sleeper, stargazer, finally home. Now, let the noise soften. Let the lights dim gently in your mind. You've walked through futures, unfamiliar, met versions of yourself you forgot to greet, and released the weight of needing to be known. And now here, in this still moment, don't need to chase anything anymore. Feel your body, warm and calm, beneath a blanket. The room is quieter now. The night has tucked in its corners. Even the city in your imagination has stopped building for the day. The windows are lit only by moonlight, and the stars have slowed their turning. Let your breath lengthen, like the ocean pulling out a tide. Let your thoughts flutter once, then land. You are safe here, whole, not because of anyone else's memory of you, but because you've remembered how to exist. Just as you are. The hum of distant machines fades, the voices drift into dreams, and you sleep, softly, fully, unknown, and free.